Hey guys, today I'm going to be reacting to his story. Okay, let's start.
I stood in the middle of my all-you-can-eat restaurant and felt like crying. I'd spent my life savings and trained for 5 years in culinary school, but 7 days in my dining hall was empty. The Kung Pao chicken I'd spent years perfecting sat untouched, and I dropped to my knees. But then, a 300-pound man walked in. He grabbed one of everything, and my face lit up because I finally had a real customer. But then I looked closer, and instantly got ready to fight him. He was adding his own herbs and spices to my food. I instantly stormed over and asked why he was changing my Kung Pao, but he stared at me like it was obvious. Because your original recipe tastes like dog shit left to bake in the sun, but with a few tweaks of my own, it's delicious. My jaw dropped, and I went to escort him out, but he shoved a spoon of my own dish into my mouth before I could say a word. I nearly gagged, and my hands shook in horror because I realized the recipe I'd worked on for so long was actually a crime against taste buds. Now try mine. He shoved a second spoon in my mouth, and my eyes glowed like in that one Ratatouille scene. This is incredible. I know. He walked to the entrance door, flipping the sign around to closed. We're turning this restaurant around. For the next 5 hours, I watched him refry my wings, re-season my fish, cross entire items off the menu, and call the recipes I'd spent 2 years on prison food. When he was done, I asked him if he was a chef, but he just twirled his fork. Nah, I'm just a fat guy who loves food. The next morning, I opened the restaurant, and at lunch, I watched my second ever customer take a bite of the Kung Pao. He nearly fell out of his chair and immediately went back for more. That evening, my restaurant was full, and Joe stood in my kitchen, eating the Kung Pao chicken, now as my head chef and co-owner of the restaurant. He saved my business, so giving him half was the least I could do. I stood in the middle of. I asked my dad, "What are you getting me for my 18th birthday?" And he smiled. That day's still far away, so I forgot all about it. But on my 18th birthday, I suddenly fainted. My dad rushed me to the hospital where the doctor said, "Your child has a hole in his heart." Dad broke down crying, and I was sure I was going to die. But an hour later, he came into my room saying, "It's a miracle, son. The doctors have a donor ready." So they wheeled me into surgery. When I woke up, there was a letter on my bed from my dad. But as I read it, I started crying. "Son, if you're reading this, it means everything went well. Remember when you asked what I was getting you for your 18th birthday? Back then, I didn't know what to say. Now you know. I gave you my heart." I asked my dad, "What are you getting me for my?" I was on a public bus with my daughter when a man in a black ski mask stood up, pointed a gun at all of us, and screamed, "Everybody put your phones in the bag, now!" I yanked my daughter against my chest, ready to do anything to keep her safe. But my teenage daughter clutched her phone in its bulky pink case to her chest, shaking her head. "I can't live without my phone, Dad. I'm not giving it to him." My heart stopped. I grabbed her arm and begged, "Your life is worth more than a phone. You have to give it to him." But I knew how stubborn she was, and I was terrified she'd get herself killed. The robber stormed down the aisle, shoving his bag in each row, and phones dropped in one by one. But a man near the front clutched his phone and shook his head. "No, bruh, my whole life's on this thing." The robber grabbed his collar, but the man swung back, and they slammed into the seats, the gun swinging wildly as they grappled. "You're going to get us all killed!" someone screamed from the back. Then a shot cracked through the bus, the bullet punching a hole through the roof, and everyone ducked. I threw myself over my daughter, shielding her with my body, but underneath me, I felt her hands moving frantically over her phone like she was protecting it, and my heart sank because I knew she was still refusing to give it up. "Please," I begged into her ear, "just hand it over. I can't lose you." Then sirens wailed in the distance, and the robber's head snapped toward the window, his grip on the gun tightening as he ripped the fighting man's phone away and stormed toward us. The gun swung toward my daughter. "Phone in the bag, now!" I was bracing for the worst, but my daughter slowly lifted her bright pink phone and dropped it into his bag. Relief crashed over me as the sirens screamed closer, and the robber bolted for the door, but he didn't make it 3 steps before cops tackled him to the pavement. But then my daughter grabbed my arm. "Dad, look!" She opened her palm, and there sat her phone, glowing out of its bright pink case. I gave him the empty pink case, Dad. "I've been texting 911 while you were shielding me." My jaw dropped, because the phone she swore she couldn't live without was the only reason any of us were still breathing. I was on a public bus when my history teacher accidentally taught us about cavemen. Kevin, the dumbest kid in class, immediately shot up. "Is it true that cavemen invented fire?" The teacher nodded. "We should all appreciate it." Kevin cackled and rubbed his hands together like an evil fly, and none of us were prepared for what he had up his sleeve. The next afternoon, we were back in the same seats when dark smoke filled the hallways. The intercom crackled. "Fire in the building. All students evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." The fire alarm screamed, and Kevin smiled at the ceiling and rubbed his hands together. As we walked out, I turned to him. Bro, did you cause this? He nodded like I was the dumbest kid in the school. Duh, you heard teach. Fire's the most important thing that ever happened. I'm showing her I appreciate it, and then she'll finally let me pass her class. A girl up front shrieked, "You could have killed all of us." But before Kevin could respond, sprinklers went off over our heads, and I just hoped the principal would expel him so Kevin could never hurt us again. But when we made it to the front lawn, and I explained to the principal what Kevin did, he walked past Kevin and stormed right over to the teacher. "How could you be so reckless? You stood in front of a boy who is stupid enough to eat glue for lunch and told him to appreciate fire." He straightened his tie. "We're not pressing charges," Kevin cheered. "Does that mean I passed the class?" The principal sighed. "Yes, Kevin. Yes, it does." When my history teacher accidentally taught us about the school bully kicked down a 6'9" freshman, and when his tray fell, he picked up the spaghetti and squeezed it over his head. The best part about this is you can't do crap about it, Giraffe. But this freshman towered over him and said, "What did you just say to me?" The entire cafeteria went silent because no one had ever stood up to Logan. Logan smirked. "Be careful what you say next, circus freak. My dad practically owns this school." But the new kid just smirked. "Oh yeah, what's his name?" He puffed his chest out. "John Donaldson." The new kid chuckled. "His boss's name is Liam McManus, right? I know because that's my dad's name." For a second, Logan didn't say anything, and all of us had our mouths wide open because no one had ever seen him be quiet before. The new kid leaned in and whispered, "By the way, my dad says yours is a little bitch, like father, like son." He suddenly went red with anger and started crashing out. "How effing dare you!" The kid's hand closed over Logan's whole head, and he lifted him in the air like it was nothing. Logan started kicking at nothing. "Put me down!" The new kid smiled, and while still carrying Logan, he crouched down to the tray of spaghetti on the floor, picked it up, and smeared it on Logan's face. Logan kept kicking while being suspended in the air, and his sweatpants fell to his ankles to reveal SpongeBob boxers. Every kid Logan had ever bullied was now laughing at him with their phones out. The new kid smiled. "The best part about this is you can't do crap about it, little man."
Oh, yeah.
Me and my boys cornered our art teacher. "Can you take us to see Obsession, Mr. Bell?" He shook his head. "It's rated R. You're 14. And my boys all glanced at me, but I mouthed, "Check me out." I stared at Mr. Bell. The rumors were right. The history teacher, Mr. Flaherty, is cooler than you. Mr. Bell stood up so fast, he almost fell. "Now hold on a second." He took out his phone and instantly started scrolling AMC showtimes. I grinned at my boys because he'd do anything we wanted, as long as we called him uncool right after. Keon tested it next. "Yo, Mr. Bell, can you get us a hotel room before the movie? I want to chill." Mr. Bell laughed. "Nice try, kid." He was already turning back to his desk when I crossed my arms and rolled my eyes. "I knew you weren't as cool as Mr. Flaherty." His eyes immediately widened. "Now hold on a second." An hour later, we were at a 5-star hotel, and he was swiping his credit card to pay for us all to have a deluxe suite. We knew this could only end badly, but we were too excited to care. And at 8 p.m., we rolled into the theater smelling like garlic butter, and Mr. Bell strutted to the counter. "5 for Obsession. I'm their guardian." We all silently dapped each other up, but then Keon grabbed my arm and pointed at the concession stand. It was Mr. Flaherty, the history teacher, aka our art teacher's arch nemesis. He stood in a huddle of his third period kids, swiping his card under a tower of popcorn buckets. I gasped because I realized he was being manipulated the same way we were manipulating Mr. Bell. When Flaherty saw Mr. Bell, he turned to the kids. "Get whatever you want, and let's upgrade our chairs to recliners, just cause I'm cool like that." We all leaned in, biting our nails, waiting to see what would happen next. Bell clenched his fists and bought the row behind us so nobody could kick our chairs. Nobody had called anyone uncool, and nobody needed to anymore. They were out-cooling each other on their own, and we were the scoreboard. Eventually, they both bought out the entire cinema room, and when we walked in, I sank into my recliner behind a mountain of snacks and leaned over to Keon. "I told you the history teacher was cooler." 3 seats down, Mr. Bell's head whipped around. "Now hold on a second." Me and my boys cornered our art teacher. My girlfriend stood in my doorway holding my laptop open. "So when were you planning to tell me about your other Twitch account?" On the screen was my face, my name, and a profile I had never made. She clicked through messages from girls calling me cute, and every heart emoji made me look guiltier. "I don't stream," I said. She turned the laptop toward me. "Apparently you do." Then she stepped back from me. "I'm not dating someone who flirts with girls behind my back." She opened the payment history, and my profile picture showed up beside tips sent to the same streamers again and again. The comments were worse, asking girls to say my username, calling them pretty, promising to come back to their streams. I stared at the screen, and even I knew how bad it looked. I swear that's not me. My hands moved too fast opening my bank app. "Look, I don't have secret streamer money. I barely have sandwich money." She looked at the red balance and shook her head. "Yeah, because you sent it all to random streamer girls." I froze, because somehow my proof had made me look broker and guiltier. She looked at the fake account one more time, then started closing my laptop. "I'm done." Before the screen shut, a notification popped up, going live in 5. The stream stream opened on a game lobby with no camera, just a voice asking, "Can everybody hear me?" My girlfriend's hand froze on the laptop. "That sounds like my brother." She pulled out her phone and dialed, and a ringtone buzzed through the stream. "One sec, my sister's calling." Her brother answered, his voice coming from her phone and my laptop at the same time. "Hey, what's up?" She gripped the phone. "Why is my boyfriend's face on your account?" On screen, his game character walked straight into a wall, and for the first time all night, I felt the accusation lift off me. He whispered into the mic, "Oh no," and the stream went black. His voice stayed on the phone. I heard girls at school say he was cute, and streamer girls answer cute guys faster. My girlfriend closed the laptop, grabbed her keys, and looked at me for the first time like she believed me. "I owe you an apology after I ruined my brother's life."
Yeah, true.
My girlfriend stood in my doorway I was at my girlfriend's family cookout, meeting everyone for the first time, when her dad handed me a chicken leg. Best chicken you'll ever have. Dig in. But I stared at it in horror, because it was pink and dripping with blood. I wanted to make a good impression, so I laughed nervously. "Is this a joke?" "Very funny." But the whole family just stared at me, blank. He puffed out his chest. "It's not a joke. Are you gonna eat it or not?" My girlfriend grabbed my arm, smiling wide. "Babe, if you eat it, he'll love you." But I felt my stomach turn, and I had no idea what to do. I scratched my neck. "I mean, it just looks a little raw." His smile dropped, and he leaned right into my face. "You calling me a bad cook, huh? 40 years grilling in this backyard, and some kid tells me it's raw?" The whole family shook their heads. "He thinks he knows better than Dad. This is the type of man you bring into this house?" Her mom scoffed. Her brother slammed the table. "That's hella disrespect, bruh." Even my girlfriend's smile twisted. "You're embarrassing me. Just eat it." I looked at the bloody meat, and wondered if I was the crazy one. Then they all stood up and circled my chair, chanting, "Eat it! Eat it! Eat it!" My girlfriend grabbed the chicken and started moving it towards my lips. "Open up!" The smell of raw meat hit my nostrils. My stomach lurched, and I finally had enough. I smacked the chicken out of her hand, and it flung across the yard. "Hell no! This chicken is straight out the farm! I'm not eating it!" The whole family went dead silent. I expected them to kick me out, but then the dad slowly started clapping his hands. "Finally, a man with a spine." He grinned at my girlfriend. "It was a test to see if you were a real man. The last 5 guys ate it, but you passed." The mom gave me a big squeeze, and her brother reached for a high five, but I stood up, backing toward the gate. "You all deserve to go to a psych ward. I'm getting out of here." As I bolted, the whole family chased after me, and the dad ran behind crying, "Come back! He's the best man we've ever had." I was trying to bicycle kick a soccer ball in my living room when it flew straight into my mom's vase. I dove for it but caught air, and it shattered on the floor. My hands flew to my mouth. That was Grandma's vase, given to Mom before she died, and Mom had told me 100 times not to touch it. Mom was upstairs washing her hair, so I grabbed the super glue and tried to piece it together, but the cracks spread like a spider web, and it fell apart. I knew I was cooked. I wrapped the pieces in paper towels, shoved them in the trash, and put a candle on the empty shelf. I dropped onto the couch with my Switch as Mom came down. "You hungry? I'm starting dinner." "Yeah, I'm starving." She walked toward the kitchen but stopped at the shelf, tilting her head. "Where's Grandma's vase?" Sweat shot down my face. "Wasn't it always like that?" She picked up the candle. "It was right here this morning. Maria came today, didn't she?" Maria was our cleaning lady, and Mom was already calling her back. I almost told the truth twice before Maria got there. Maria walked back in, still in her cleaning clothes, and Mom led her to the empty shelf. "My grandma's vase is gone. You're the only other person who was in here." Maria's hands shook. "Ma'am, I swear to God I didn't even go near that shelf." "I'm sorry, Maria. Pack your bags. I can't have someone in my house I can't trust." Maria stood there waiting for someone to say something. She picked up her bag and walked past me to the door. She didn't look at me, and I didn't look at her either. The door closed behind her, and the house went quiet. Maria had 3 kids. She'd shown me their school pictures every time she came over. I'm 27 now, and I still haven't told my mom what really happened that night, but I've carried the guilt with me the entire time. I tell myself I was just a kid back then who didn't know better. I was trying to bicycle kick a soccer ball. A bully named George shoved my best friend Ellie off the top of the jungle gym, and she hit the wood chip so hard the whole playground went silent. I ran over and she was crying, holding her wrist funny, and George just stood up there laughing like it was nothing. She was in my spot. The teacher was all the way across the playground, too far to have seen it, and George knew it. He always waited for exactly that moment. I helped Ellie up. "Don't worry, I won't let him get away with this." I knew that George was allergic to bees, so while he was still up on the jungle gym bragging to to the other kids about how high his spot was. I walked over to the flower bed by the fence and found a big fat bumblebee sitting on a flower. I gently plucked it off the flower and walked back over to the jungle gym. George, I've got something for you. Ellie tilted her head at me. What are you doing? I winked. Just watch. George climbed down and walked right up to me. What is it? I shoved the bee onto his arm and it stung him. He tripped over his own feet trying to get away, landing hard on his backside in front of half the playground. Then he screamed so loud a teacher came running. What happened? George was wailing and pointing at me. He stung me with a bee. The teacher looked at me, obviously confused. You stung him with a bee? I shook my head. I don't have a bee,
That
Mrs.
sounds
Worley.
confusing.
Ellie spoke up. How would he even do that? George's face started to swell up, so she dropped it and quickly helped him up. Come on, buddy. We have to go get your EpiPen. George stomped away, still sniffling, throwing me one last furious look over his shoulder. I gave him a smug little smile. Don't mess with my friend again. A bully named George shoved my best friend Ellie. I hit a huge home run and was about to celebrate, but the catcher suddenly pushed me to the ground. Cheater, you cheated. He ripped his mask off and pointed at my bat in the dirt. Check his bat. He's cheating. My eyes widened as I looked up at him. Dude, that's not funny. Is this because the scouts chose me over you? Shut up. Check his bat. The umpire pushed his glasses up his nose and slowly picked it up. My jaw clenched. My own bat had felt heavy during warm-ups, so I'd grabbed a spare off the rack. But if this random bat had weights in it, I would lose the scout's offer and my entire life would be ruined. The ump turned the bat over in his hands, then stopped on a scuff near the barrel, and his whole face went red. I see something. My hands started sweating. He called time and waved my run off the board. 12,000 people came down on me at once. The catcher cackled as loud as he could. See, I knew he was cheating, but the ump adjusted his glasses and shook his head. Wait, false alarm. My glasses were cloudy. The catcher's body locked up as the ump turned to him. This bat is clean. I smirked and nodded my head, but then the catcher's hands started trembling. No way that's clean. The ump told him to get back behind the plate, and he lost it. Unscrew the knob. I put it in there myself. The field went silent. His own dugout stood up, and his own coach asked, did he just say he put something in there? The ump unscrewed the knob and turned it over, but nothing came out. Every head on the field turned to me, so I announced, that's not my bat. Mine's still in the dugout. So he walked to our dugout, pulled my bat, and tipped it over the plate. 3 lead weights rolled out into the dirt. The catcher's eyes lit up. See, I told you there's no way the bat's clean. I put those in myself so the scouts would regret choosing him over me. He was nodding and smiling, but the ump put one hand on his shoulder and waved over security. Get this idiot off the field. Security walked him off, and my run went back up. I hit a
Ads. Come on. Load.
A grandma walked into my cafe with her little oxygen waster grandson, and as soon as she opened her mouth to order, he snapped his grimy fingers at her. You're taking too long, bruh. Let me just do it. He yelled, black coffee and lemonade with 2 pancakes, extra syrup, at me, then grabbed her purse from her shaking hands and threw her money down. Keep the change. She doesn't need it. I noticed the grandma's eyes fill with tears as she told him, I can do it myself, sweetie. But he shook his head. Not since your stroke you can't. You're practically a vegetable now. I clenched my fists in anger but stayed silent. But then they walked to their table. He pulled her chair out and smiled. Let me get your chair. I thought he was being sweet, but then his smile twisted, and he pulled the chair out completely without her seeing. She went to sit down, and my jaw dropped in horror, because if she fell, she'd probably break something. I knew there was no time to warn her, so I ran and dove on all fours. She sat right on me, and I watched the little parasite's smile drop as he realized his prank had failed. The grandma grabbed her chest. Why are you down there? Where's my chair? And I instead explained everything. She turned to her grandson, whose face was beet red and humiliated in front of everyone. He put his hood up and muttered, whatever, let's just get our pancakes. But when he went to sit down, Grandma pulled out his chair. He fell butt first on the tiles, and I heard his tailbone crack. The sound echoed, and she started laughing as he sat on the floor crying. Now that's a pain in the ass. A grandma walked into my...
Okay, so that's gonna be it, guys. Thanks for watching my videos, and I am